Before I get into this video, I want to tell you guys over here on Sage about our gaming channel. I'm going to be playing Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 2 on stream tonight over on our gaming channel Mystic Zora. This game is one of my absolute favorite games of all time, and I would love to bring you guys from Sage over to the fun. To diversify myself from Pokemon stuff more is my primary goal. So if you guys are interested in seeing me play games like Persona 4 Golden, Final Fantasy, other Naruto games, Dragon Ball, Jump Force, and more anime games in general, I would go check out Mystic Zora. Mystic Zora will be in the description below and in the iCard above. Okay, enough of that though, let's move on to the video. One of the most interesting characters in Naruto, to me, was definitely Haku. Not only was he one of the first Kekkei Genkai users that we meet in the series, but he also was one of the first real obstacles the heroes met. But there is something I've always wondered. How strong was Haku? And as such, today, we'll be answering that question. If you're hyped for a Haku discussion video and want to see more anime content, be sure to leave a like on this video and subscribe to Mystic Sage, and be sure to also keep notifications on. Also, don't forget to let me know what other characters I should cover in the future. With that said, let's talk about Haku. Let's start by first going into a little of Haku's backstory. Haku was born in a snowy village in the Land of Water, a land that had suffered from a war shortly before. In the war, a variety of ninja battled each other, including ninja with Kekkei Genkai. Haku's mother had a Kekkei Genkai, and thus also passing it to Haku. During that time, because of the war, people with Kekkei Genkai became feared, and that resulted in Haku's mother wanting to keep her abilities a secret from Haku's father. One day, Haku discovered his Kekkei Genkai, and his mom saw this. She slapped him in the face and told him to never do it again. Little did she know though, Haku's father was standing from the shadows watching. Haku's father then killed Haku's mother and tried to do the same thing to Haku. However, Haku wound up killing his father and the rest of the mob around him. After Haku's parents died, Haku became an orphan on the streets, scraping for food, and on the occasion also having to fend off wild dogs to make sure he was able to eat himself. Later, he was confronted by Zabuza Mamuchi, a rogue ninja of the village hidden in the mist and one of the 7 legendary swordsmen of the mist. Zabuza asked Haku to become his weapon, which basically meant to be his subordinate and to fight specifically for him only. Haku accepted this offer because he felt he had a purpose in his life. From then on, Haku and Zabuza came into being the first serious antagonists we see. Like I said, Haku, along with Zabuza, were the first serious antagonists of the original series. We had the first mission where we saw Kakashi leading Naruto and Sasuke into the Land of Waves to help with the completion of a bridge that is being halted by Zabuza and Haku. Oh, and I guess Sakura was there too. The biggest threat was obviously the demon, Zabuza, but he was paired with Kakashi. This led Naruto and Sasuke to battle with Haku. Now, as I mentioned, Haku had a Kekkei Genkai. He had access to both the wind and water attributes, and as such, he could use Ice Jutsu. Primarily, we see this only really taking a few forms, with the most relevant ways being producing Ice Needles, an Ice Barrier, and the Crystal Ice Mirrors. The Ice Needles were essentially just upgraded shuriken, which when paired with Haku's knowledge of the human body from being an assassin, was pretty scary. Then we have the Crystal Ice Mirror, which allowed for Haku to create ice mirrors that he can jump inside up and launch himself between at speeds that ice couldn't keep up with. This would basically lead to a combination of Haku diving between mirrors and launching needles into his opponents until he killed them. Yet, despite this, he was able to be dealt with by Naruto and Sasuke at a very young age. And honestly, I think because of this, a lot of people underestimate Haku. But that is probably just because of his one big weakness. Haku, unlike the savage Zabuza, was extremely compassionate. He genuinely cared about others, and would even sacrifice himself to save Zabuza from Kakashi's lightning blade. But here is where I think the misunderstanding is. Haku liked Naruto and Sasuke and felt bad for them. He 100% went easy on them, which is why, for example, we see the data books saying he was traveling between mirrors at light speed, but Sasuke was still able to keep up with them when his Sharingan was activated. So despite his moderately weak showing, and him only being able to compete with Genin in the arc, Zabuza still believed that even if Kakashi was to have killed him, Haku would be able to kill Kakashi with no effort. Something which definitely doesn't line up with the narrative we were given at the time. But then we see him revived with the Edo Tensei, and he seemingly gets a massive power boost. This wasn't really a power boost in a traditional sense. More so, it was just Haku not holding back for the first time. As a result, we see this dude who is going even with 2 Genin in the past, being able to take on Ninja War Rock Lee and Might Guy at the same time with even footing. Keep in mind, this is the same Rock Lee who absolutely bodied Sasuke in the Chunin exams, much after Sasuke was, quote, able to deal with Haku. The only real explanation for this difference is that Haku's compassion had gotten the best of him, and he couldn't commit to his original fight. In the Edo Tensei arc, we also see Haku using his mirrors to their full potential and blinking around the battlefield, even showing us something closer to the light speed that the databooks mentioned as he once again sacrificed himself to protect Zabuza. Now, speaking of the databook, we actually have the numbers which Kishimoto assigned all of Haku's abilities with. So let's take a look at that. In order from lowest to highest, Taijutsu, Genjutsu, and Luck were given a 1. Which, I mean, saying Haku was unlucky is an understatement. Also, he had a pretty frail body, so the Taijutsu lines up, and we don't see him using Genjutsu at all. But I'd imagine, with his current ability set, Genjutsu would have been an amazing buff. For reference, this is about the same levels as Kid Sakura's Taijutsu or Kid Choji's speed. Haku had a 1.5 in strength and a 2 in stamina, equal to Kid Hinata's ninjutsu in speed respectively, so nothing too crazy. Things kind of ramp up as we jump to a 3.5 in ninjutsu, lining up with Sakura's intelligence. Haku has a 4 in intelligence, speed, hand seals, and total ability. All of this lining up with Rock Lee's speed, so something definitely impressive. But the most important detail about Haku is his potential. You gotta remember that Haku was only 15 through all of this. And that is exactly why his potential was given a 5, something comparable to the likes of Naruto, Gaara, and Sasuke, if not exceeding them. So the idea of power ranking Haku is pretty strange. While Haku is very interesting, we don't see him do anything incredibly impressive overall. Like, yeah, the ice mirrors are sweet, and the needles are, no pun intended, pretty cool. I mean, does that really compare to later Naruto at all? Like, imagine Haku being placed against people like Time Skip Gaara. It would be a wash. Even if he was matched with like Kankuro. I'm not sure they'd be able to take down the puppets, for example, let alone any of the Akatsuki members. Like I said, Haku was able to defend against Might Guy and Rock Lee in the Edo arc, but like, cool. Defending is one thing, but I can't really see him defeating them in the long terms. And that doesn't even bring up the fact that Haku was temporarily immortal in that fight. If he wasn't, it would slant even further out of his favor. All in all, if I had to place Haku in a ninja rank, I'd probably place him high Chunin or at best low Jonin. But had he been given time to actually grow and develop more, well, I mean, a 5 in potential went a long way for Naruto, so I would have loved to see what would have happened. I think a big part of why Haku seems so weak is how linear their fighting style is. Like, yes, mirrors and needles, but I would have loved to see the mirrors maybe used in combination with Genjutsu or some kind of close range abilities to give him more options. At the end of the day though, all Haku had was the mirrors and needles. And at best, if you trap someone, he could throw dozens and dozens of needles and kill them over time. Haku was kind of just fast and could wear people, but there was no real finishing move. Like having someone trapped in a cage where you're moving at light speed should not be a long execution. Honestly, if he just had a kunai to stab someone in the chest instead of throwing needles while he jumped, it would have been a million times easier and faster. But I guess that would involve kunai doing something in the series, and we all know that isn't going to happen. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Haku. A high Chunin level character with some pretty cool abilities, but he was definitely lacking in many ways as well. What do you think would have happened if he was given more time to grow up and train? And how strong do you think he is? Let me know down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this Naruto video and want more anime content, be sure to subscribe to Mystic Sage with notifications on, that way you don't miss my next upload. With that being said though, I will catch you guys next time in the future for some more awesome anime content.